Let me tell you a little bit about PGX. Okay, let me talk about it real quick. We started offering a product called PGX Daily. PGX Daily is really, I can't say it, I like what it says, will change your life even if you don't. It's not just a weight loss product. PGX is, as the more I started delving into it and looking at some of the clinical on PGX in relationship to what they were seeing, is that it is literally more of a blood sugar management program, okay? So if obesity and weight is tied to sugar, if cholesterol is tied to sugar, if blood pressure is tied to sugar, irritable bowel syndrome tied to some sugar and other things, you know, in terms of inflammatory response, because we know that sugar can upregulate a lot of inflammation. The thing about this product was that it's so simple in its approach as to what it's doing. It's a fiber called glucomannan. Used to be called konjac root. Was there another name, Kevin? Calban 2000, that's it. That was out about 20 years ago, wasn't it? And the thing was, they had some problems back then because it gave you a lot of gas, and you know they kind of got a lot of bloating, which this can do if you don't do it properly. The thing about it was that this root had the amazing ability to absorb 10 times its weight in fluid. All right, so that means that it is a fibrous material. It's a viscous fiber that adds lubrication. But what it really does is when you take it with a meal, it starts to slow down the release of sugar into your blood. So if you took, let's say a person's diabetic, because diabetics tolerate this very well. A diabetic, and it's really crazy, most diabetics say, well, if I just count my exchanges, I'm all right. I can go ahead and eat that cupcake, you know, and I can drink that pop, but I just got to back off on this, and I can do that, and they've got it all figured out. And I'm going like, wow, you want to eat that stuff and you're diabetic? Why are you even putting it in there? You know, if you've got diabetes, we should be working on some other realm of thought here. But anyway, with PGX, the fiber is very important in many things, but you have to drink it with water. Water's the key. It doesn't work without water. So I tell everybody, if you're going to take that capsule right before you eat, maybe wait 10, 15 minutes before you eat, drink a glass of water with it. Now, what it's going to do first off is it's going to start to fill you up, because when that's in your tummy and it opens up, small intestines, it's going to start to expand. What's that first thing it's going to do? You're not going to eat as much because you get full sooner. Let's say it doesn't matter what you eat. Let's just say it's a typical standard American meal. White flour bread, something, pasta, got some meat with it, maybe a potato, maybe a green bean. That's about the typical, when I ask people what they eat for vegetables, that's about it. So anyway, the thing is, those are starches. Those starches are going to convert to sugar very quickly, and as they enter into your bloodstream, your body says, okay, blood sugar's going up, I need some insulin, because if I got insulin, the insulin's going to help to bring my blood sugar down. The average cell in a healthy human, every cell, remember, has what we call insulin receptor sites. 20,000 of them per cell on the cell surface of the outside of that cell. 20,000 insulin receptors. Diabetics, pre-diabetic conditions are below 5,000 receptors. Now, what's the receptor do? The receptor is a docking station. Think of the space out here, the space station, and you got the shuttle coming up to it, okay? It's got to lock on before those guys can get out and go in, right? It's exactly what this is doing. It's a shuttle system that says, okay, I'm going to come in and I'm going to dock, and the hormone of insulin has to have a docking receptor. Once the insulin docks, it starts to feed the sugar into the cell so the cell can burn it for energy production. Now, when you have what we call syndrome X, metabolic syndrome, we have insulin resistance, obesity, around the middle, insulin resistance. That means that your sugar, when you eat, is getting into the blood pretty quick. The insulin response is being triggered, but the insulin says, well, where am I supposed to go? I can only dock on so many stations, which means I can only bring so much sugar out of the blood at a specific point in time. Remember the liver, the blood going every 2 to 3 minutes through your liver. The liver is the blood sugar manager. It's saying, wow, I've seen this here. I know hey, it's supposed to be tearing apart. It's supposed to be into the cell. It's not supposed to be in my liver. And eventually the liver says, okay, I've had it. I can't let this go on anymore. I'm going to make a fat molecule out of this. I'm going to take this sugar and I'm going to make it into a piece of fat. And that's what it does. Now, PGX says, in this respect, you take a fibrous compound, you put it in and you got a starchy material. Instead of, it binds it up a little bit so that it can't release into your blood so fast. There is no insulin response because there's no need for the insulin to be there. Insulin is there to bring the sugar in. There's going to be some, don't get me wrong, you can't have any, and when you do eat a carb, you're going to get some, but it's not inordinately higher than what the body can handle, so you're not pushing the liver to have to put it into storage. That's what happens with the cravings. When a person is craving sugar, they're craving energy, but there's a defect in the sugar deliverance system as to the way that the cells are picking it up. Okay? Now, PGX has one other component in it. There's only 2 ingredients basically in essence that do what it's supposed to do. The other one is virgin coconut oil. Virgin coconut oil has a component in it called a medium chain triglyceride. A medium chain triglyceride is a type of fat that is very easily torn down, just like the triglycerides that are measured in a blood lipid panel. When somebody comes in and says, oh, I got high triglycerides, I'm already thinking, oh, they got a blood sugar problem. First question out of my mouth is, oh, you eat sugar? Well, yeah. That's why your triglycerides are high. Oh, well, you mean if I don't do that? Yeah, if you don't do that, they'll go down. But, we work to help to get them down a little quicker. But a triglyceride is not a bad guy. It's just a storage molecule. So a medium chain triglyceride is fairly easily broken apart by your body. Now, the cells, in their burning process, they love this medium chain triglyceride. So in essence, what it's doing is it's fueling the energy of the cell, helping to balance out the blood sugar at the same time. And in essence, what that ultimately is doing is it's switching a pattern off and helping to restore and point the body to go start to burn reserves of fat. Because it says, if I need energy, I don't have to get it this way. I'll get rid of it by letting it burn this stuff up. And that's, in essence, is what PGX does. It's different for everybody. I've heard all kinds of stories. I've had people swear they love it to death. I've had some people say, oh boy, it made me kind of gassy. Well, if it makes you gassy, you probably need an enzyme, or you're probably not taking enough water. But if you are taking enough water and you're getting a little bit of gas and bloating, then the thing is, you might want to add an enzyme with that to help it to break down just a little bit quicker, and that would probably take care of that. You could have a glass of peppermint tea, ginger root tea. These are gas-relieving herbs. Most people are saying that they're not drastically dropping weight like crazy, but what they're doing is they're losing inches around the waist, is what they're mostly seeing, and they're feeling more energy. They feel better. Now, if you can lose inches and still not necessarily weight, but if you're losing inches, that means that your body is changing. 1 pound of fat is 3,500 calories. If you went, and I don't believe in starvation diets in relation to weight loss, but if you could restrict certain types of carb calories, I'm not a calorie counter, never was. It's hard for some people to really try to figure it because some books confuse you altogether as to what calories you're getting in something. But if you could reduce technically 500 calories a day from the diet, cutting back on sugar, watching how much starch you eat, getting rid of some of the breads and things like that, you could probably, in a period of 1 week, you would lose approximately 1 pound of fat. If 1 pound of fat is 3,500 calories, and you could cut calories back by 500, but the real question here is, are you burning it? And you got to be able to point the body in the method that says, I'm burning it because it's a reserve. And if we never allow the reserve to be burnt, it's just going to stay there and get stored up and stored up and stored up and stored up. Just so you know, adipose tissue, the fat tissue that tends to get around the midriff, sometimes down the buttocks, the legs, they call that brown fat. That is disease-causing fat. That fat will actually instigate inflammatory responses in heart disease, cancer, diabetes, arthritis, And they're finding now that in some research, when they look at the long-term studies, that they're finding that obesity can actually be a big contributor in the development of cancer. So there's even more things that are being pinpointed more and more. So by helping your body to burn it out of there, and by making lifestyle adjustments, this in and of itself, they say, yeah, you don't have to do much to change your lifestyle. But think of the person who does change their lifestyle and does something like this. The benefits could be even more dramatic.